Hello and welcome to One Awesome Autistic. We're going kind of a little bit controversial today and a little bit on topic with what has been happening kind of in the world recently, particularly what's been happening kind of in England, in the UK. And that is to do with the New Year's honours list that we have in the UK. So for anybody outside of the UK who doesn't know what this is, the Queen does an honours list twice a year, once for a birthday and once for the New Year's, and it's to give titles and recognition to people that have done work in certain fields that have been outstanding. So you have different sportsmen, you'll have people that are doing a lot for charity, there will be famous people, there will be people you've never heard of, and they'll end up with different titles. So you'll get dames and sirs and letters after their names like MB, OB and that kind of thing. Too complicated to go into completely fully, but that's the gist of what happens. And in this recent New Year's honours list, it has been announced that Simon Baron-Cohen is going to be knighted for his services to, and I quote here, people with autism. This is what it's been put in all the newspapers and everything. This is how it's been worded. Now this is quite controversial in the autistic community, and I mean by the community of actually autistic people, because Simon Baron-Cohen's work over the years has been controversial in itself, and a lot of people deem that what he has done has actually damaged people's knowledge and understanding of autism and autistic people than the good it's actually done. So I'm going to go into a little bit of that and who he is in this video. I don't want to get bogged down with too much of the technical talk of all this, because obviously Baron-Cohen's work is in psychology, it's all research and it's all very lengthy, very wordy, so I'm not going to be going through like lots of elements of different studies. I just want to outline why he's controversial and the damage he's done and what good he actually has done. So Baron-Cohen currently works with a team, he's like the head of it at Cambridge University, and his primary research has been autism since kind of like the 80s. Now when he first got started and he was working under somebody else in the mid-80s, the first paper that was released that kind of had his name attached to it was all about theory of mind and mind blindness, and it was basically pegged that autistic people do not have a theory of mind. So that means that we can't put ourselves in other people's shoes, we can think about what they could possibly be thinking or feeling or anything like that. We can't really see the world through their eyes, and that's what mind blindness or lack of theory of mind is all about. The reason why this is controversial, firstly, is because, as we know, autism is a spectrum. It affects everybody differently. The biggest controversy about it is the fact that it lumps autistic people completely together in one group. We are all the same, but we're actually not. So yes, some autistic people may lack a theory of mind and may have mind blindness, but actually quite a large percentage of autistics don't lack theory of mind. And so this kind of put knowledge backwards quite a lot, because once you put an idea out there and it sticks in people's minds, it is very, very hard to change those people's minds. And I equate this a little bit to like the whole anti-vaxxer movement. One guy that did a dodgy study where things were falsified and stuff like that, and the guy actually got discredited and got written off, turns around and says vaccines cause autism, and this has been years, decades or ever since that study has been done, but people still believe that because they've heard it once and so they believe it, and nothing will change their mind. And this is a little bit like the damage that Baron-Cohen's work has done. And he even ended up doing another study in 1997 to expand on the theory of mind ideas that he had, because he did even realise himself that he'd pigeonholed it kind of a little bit too much. So then he comes out with this study all about female and male orientated brains. So female brains are more empathetic and male brains are more systematic, essentially. And then he turns around and says, autistic people have male-orientated brains. No, we don't. Not all of us. Again, lumping us all together, mate. And what do we all know? Say it with me loud and clear. Autism is a spectrum. We are not all the same, and we do not all have the same elements of being autistic. We all experience it differently. We all have different struggles. We all have different strengths. So this whole male-orientated brain theory helped strengthen these ideas that autism was prevalent just in males, essentially. And I mean, this affected me personally because growing up, I was born mid-80s, so when I was a kid, all these theories that Baron-Cohen put out and all this research meant I got completely missed as being autistic because I didn't like theory of mind, I didn't like empathy, I wasn't male, I didn't have any developmental delays. So because of that, it was impossible that I could be autistic. But obviously we know nowadays that is a load of rubbish. And look at me, actually autistic, female, no developmental delays, has empathy, and I don't completely lack theory of mind. I don't want to highlight like everything he's done because he's had a few books out and there's been different research studies, and I don't want to go into it all too much because, to be honest with you, it's boring and it's annoying. But another thing I did want to mention is that Baron-Cohen and his team were the ones that developed the AQ50, which is quite often used as a tool in diagnosing autistic people. Problem with it is that when you actually look at the AQ50, and I'll try and do a different video on this at some point to go into it a bit more detail, because obviously it's 50 questions, that doesn't seem like a lot, but for somebody who's autistic, when I saw that paper, it took me ages to fill it out, like a couple of hours or something like that, because to me the questions are way too ambiguous and they're very male brain orientated. Whereas my autism presents differently to that, so it was very stressful actually filling it out because I always have that thing of like, well, is this the right answer, is that the right answer, if I'm autistic is this going to show that I am, or is it actually going to counter against me the fact that these questions are sort of aimed more towards males filling it out than females. And I was lucky, I scored quite high on it, so there was kind of like no doubt. But for some people, because those questions are quite ambiguous, they may not answer them actually to how they think and feel, so then it might show that they're not autistic when actually they are. So it is a little bit problematic as using it as a tool for diagnosis. Just to kind of balance the arguments out a little bit here, if you actually do look into Simon Baron-Cohen a bit, then there are some good things he has done as well. So he's the person who did research on synesthesia, which I can't say very well, but it's basically when you see a word as a colour, it's kind of like the senses get mixed up, so you can say a word and smell it, or something like that. I don't have it, so that's very complicated for me to try and like describe what it is in such a small way, but read about synesthesia, or however you say it, you'll see what that's all about. But that's what he sort of like came up with and that kind of thing. So that's a good thing because he put a name to something that, you know, people were struggling with that didn't have a name. So he did some work on that, and he's done work on other things as well, and his research has kind of progressed over the years, but it's still not quite there for a lot of people. If autistic people view Simon Baron-Cohen as somebody that does a lot of damage for the autistic community, then why is he being knighted for services to us when he hasn't really provided much of a service to us? Also, what a lot of people may not know as well is that he's actually he's like the vice chairman or something like that of the National Autistic Society. Good charity for awareness and things like that, but he is high up on their board as well. So if he's not doing that much good work for us and he's actually causing more harm than good, why is he in that position? Why is he being knighted? If you have views on this, let me know in the comments below. I like to hear other people's views, because all I've seen so far online is a lot of people kind of attacking him. So I would love to see other people's viewpoints on this. I'm just trying to give the information out as I know it currently. He's not somebody I've always known about, because I studied him when I was at college as well in psychology, and the study we did was one of his studies on autism, and all the participants in the study were male autistic children. So I think that kind of gives a big clue as to how he is actually conducting his research. So whether his actual knighthood goes ahead, whether it actually gets pulled from him, whether there's a big uproar or what have you, we shall see in the near future. And if anything does happen, I'll give you guys an update. But thank you for watching, and if you got this far, then fingers crossed you actually enjoyed this video. So pop a like and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of any new videos that I post as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.